is now in session. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I guess we have a flag here. I gotta catch my breath. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have just a brief moment of silence and then move on. Okay. Carol, can we have the roll call?
Vice Mayor Susanna Murdoch is not here. Councilmember Vicki Anderson? Here. Councilmember Andrew Gardner?
Here.
Councilmember Dan Landrum is not here. Mayor Charles Voss?
Here. Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to, what's just three of us? Have the three of us had a chance to review the minutes? And are there any changes that you wish to make, if so? All right. Yes.
We'll do this now. If I may, something I didn't catch earlier on the minutes for April 26th, under presentation, the second line near the end of Pruitt's Groceries with an E instead of an I.
Tell me again where you were on that. Oh, I see it. Okay. So we have one correction to the April 26th minutes, that Pruitt's needs to be spelled with an E instead of an I under the presentation section. So we have 2 minutes. I guess we'll ask first on the April 12th minutes. Does anybody have any objections to the April 12th minutes? No? Okay. How about other than the correction that Boyd suggested, do we have any other changes to the April 26th minutes? All right, we don't have to have a motion on these. We can approve them by no objections, so they are approved. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Citizens' opportunity to address the council. We have several people here. Does anybody wish to address the council? We have one. Claire Greisinger, if you could give us your, I know, it's nice to have you back. If you could state your name and address, and then tell us what you have to say.
Claire Greisinger, 40 Carriage Hill. For the past year, the town council, town boards, and town committees have been holding video Zoom meetings, and the live recordings and postings of these meetings online have allowed the residents to listen to and watch the Personnel Committee, the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, a lot of other groups that have met. However, now that in-person meetings have started, except for council meetings, residents will no longer have the opportunity to watch meetings online. Why is that? Because the town will video only the council meetings. The BZA and Planning Commission meetings have been recorded on audio for many years, and now the Planning Commission will be available for residents on audio, but no video. The BZA, I was told, would possibly be on audio, and an appeal of a BZA decision is to the court. And of all the town meetings that should be recorded on video, I would think the BZA would be at the top of that list. Personnel committee meetings will not be available at all. You can just get the minutes of those. To listen to a BZA or a Planning Commission meeting, you have to, 1, fill out an open record request, and then number 2, if you want to come to Town Hall and get a CD, you can pay $5 and get a CD. I have no way to play a CD I got a old CD player at Best Buy and tried to play some town recordings. I can't make them play at all. My next option, if you can't use a CD, you can come by town hall and pay $10 and they will put it on a flash drive. Or you can come by town hall and bring your own flash drive and they will put that on there for nothing. Today I went and purchased my first ever flash drive, and I will have to pay the neighbor child to come help me make it work. While I don't object to the fee, I don't object to going back and forth to town hall to take that. I don't even object to the open record request that y'all know I can fill out in no time. But I do object to audio only of the Planning Commission and possibly the BZA. Audio only does not allow any residents to see any kind of presentations to the Planning Commission, like maps or plats or regulations. It doesn't allow anybody to see BZA case information, and you don't even know who's speaking. The in-person meeting seating, of course, is still very limited. So as I said, the town doesn't even make an audio recording of the Personnel Committee that recently started up, and they're, I think, one of our most important committees. So I have sent y'all today the average number of committee board views on Zoom that we've had the past year. The Personnel Committee averaged 98 views per meeting, the BZA 48 views a meeting, and Planning Commission 50 views a meeting. So there are a lot of residents interested in some of the town's issues, their plans, decisions, and very few can get a seat at an actual meeting. Now, according to town staff, the council has to make a request to have a specific meeting recorded on video for residents to watch. So I am asking you, the town council, to request the town video just the next two Personnel Committee meetings, BZA meetings, Planning Commission meetings. There's a BZA meeting coming up toward the end of the month on something that's been brought recently before the council twice. It's been to the Planning Commission, it's been in the newspaper. The Personnel Committee is going to soon get a personnel salary report that would probably be of interest to employees and town residents. The Planning Commission is one of our most important boards, and their decisions have a direct effect on this town. So by providing the town residents with videos of these three meetings, the council can determine if there's still an interest there. So I'm just asking for a short trial period to gather that information. I think the town ought to encourage residents to become more knowledgeable about our committees by continuing to provide access to meetings online. Maybe some of those residents might in the future be involved and volunteer to serve on boards. So I am asking the council to please consider that request at this meeting tonight so that those next meetings coming up can hopefully be on video, and then you can see how many views you get, and maybe you want to continue and maybe you don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Is this meeting being recorded by audio, but is it video?
It's live streaming.
Oh, where's the camera?
In my computer.
Huh?
It was, yeah.
Only the council meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like, were the Personnel Committee meetings recorded when they were on Zoom?
Everything was live streamed. Here, I'll
That means I haven't watched one. Bad admission on my part.
And I'm not arguing for or against Mr. Greisinger's request, only to tell you that everything during COVID, according to the governor's order, was live streamed, and that was how we offered public access. So
Okay.
I just wanted to.
I mean, I like it. I like being able to watch a meeting. I know I've watched some on video, and it's nice to be able to go back and watch and, see what happened.
What is the, I guess, administrative time and burden on staff to be able to provide that?
Well, it would be considerable. We would have to have someone that knew how to do it at pretty much at every meeting. And it's not that it can't be done, but if you wanted to do it effectively, we would have to move most meetings into this space. And Mac board, tree board, a lot of the others, they don't meet here, they meet in smaller areas. Audio recording would be less of a challenge. But again, historically, really, I think BZA and Planning Commission and Council were audio recorded. And I don't know, a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we started live streaming council meetings. Prior to that, nothing was.
At one point, they were recorded and then later uploaded, and then when we were able to live stream, we did. That was mostly due to Dan's efforts, and so I think
So,
they've been recorded back to 2017, but live streamed, I'm not sure exactly when that occurred.
so BZA, planning, and personnel, though, do they typically meet in here?
BZA,
Planning does.
planning does, personnel has since we started other meetings,
Yeah.
but it's more of a work session scenario.
Well, we're missing 2 people. I wouldn't want to make any kind of, I like the request. I would think if we could, maybe as Ms. Preisinger requested, maybe the next 2 meetings of each of those boards until we can figure out how we can make it work, if we can make it work, and then have Dan and Susanna here to, decide once we get some impact or information from you guys as to whether it can work. But maybe the next 2 meetings of each of those boards can be live streamed like they have been, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Would that be all right?
I believe we can accomplish that.
Y'all okay with that? Do we need to have a vote?
Well, I don't know if we need to vote, but I wonder about how much staff time or cost. I mean, probably for 2 meetings, it's not a big deal, but if we're gonna do it consistently, I wonder about, if a staff member that would have to be paid to be here that, or to be in the meeting if it isn't already being paid. And I would like to know how much that would cost the town. That's all.
Well, in this instance, it would probably be Mr. Ewan, who is a salaried position, but I would certainly want to accommodate time
Correct.
and all at least. So, and that's the thing with the Zoom meetings. He did, I think, an outstanding job for a year, getting all the meetings going, getting everything done. That was something that was done from basically wherever he happened to be on a laptop, as opposed to having to physically be at meetings and make sure everything was set up and done. So it would be a little bit more involved.
And the setup was just a few clicks of a mouse rather than, and we're just not to the, again, I'm not arguing for or against, but not arguing for or against, but we don't technically have a turnkey system at this point. So it is a little bit more involved in setup, but I think it's reasonable for those couple of meetings that we can accomplish that.
Well, I would say this, the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't really meet regularly, so, I mean, to say the next 2 meetings, it could be like, September, when the second meeting happens.
They're as called.
I don't know how often the Personnel Committee meets. The Planning Commission is having a work session, right?
Not in August,
That's in August, okay.
but I don't know if they're going to be between.
Yeah,
So
so.
here, just check with Jamie. I haven't heard if we're doing one in June or not.
So, I don't think there's a meeting of one of those boards between now and our next meeting, right?
BZA.
Really? When's that?
I think that's the last Thursday of the month, so it wouldn't be before.
Yeah, it actually
The council's next meeting.
It'll be the Thursday after the council.
All right. I'm on the BZA, I should know this. Why don't we, between now and the next 2 weeks, you guys figure out if it's possible to, at least do the BZA meeting. Would you be there anyway, or no?
Traditionally, I have not been other than during COVID, but I can be.
All right.
I certainly.
Let's see if we can at least make that one work, and then, between now and the next meeting, y'all can decide if it could be feasible most of the time, or, pick and choose which meetings or which boards might be best to do that for.
Yes, sir.
I know you're usually there at all the planning commission meetings.
Yes.
So, y'all give it some thought and see if we can come up with a plan that might work. I do think people like that. I found it useful, and I do think it's nice to be able to go back and see a meeting rather than having to read minutes from a meeting, because those are always just a quick synopsis of the meeting.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think?
And to the extent there's some investment we can make in minimal, hopefully, equipment in here, to make it easy, sort of turnkey,
Yeah,
Well,
to
if,
a video.
Something
if
up
the
there.
meeting's in here, it's a lot more manageable, but.
Yeah,
It's better set up in this room. Yeah, it would be very difficult in any other facility where some of our other boards have traditionally met.
yeah.
But of the ones you mentioned, the personnel committee is really the only one that hasn't necessarily always met in this room. So I think we can accomplish what you're asking. Absolutely.
all right. All right, well, let's just at least plan for the BTA meeting, and then to have information gathering between now and the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Talk
Thanks.
about it next time. All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Claire. Where are we? Oh, does anyone else want to address the council? Okay. Now we're on to resolutions. Can we do Harry, can we do the resolutions? You and I talked today. I wasn't sure if 3 people could do the resolutions or no.
We've got a four.
Okay, all right. Let me get to them. Okay, I will read the first one. It is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Volunteer Highway Supply Company Incorporated for the application of approximately 7 centerline miles of street and 25 line miles of street striping in the town in an amount not to exceed $13,700 and no dollars. I'm sorry, no cents, dollar, no 100 dollars. That's $13,700, folks. And authorizing the town manager to execute any necessary documents in connection with this award. Do we have a motion? Want to hear what this is about first? Let's hear what this is about first.
We've just completed the paving for this year. This is the accompanying contract for striping of those streets. We did bid it out, and the company is a low bid. We've had them before, haven't we? Right. We've had them as a contractor before, so recommendation is their actual bid was $12,394.45, and we just have a 10% contingency in there and rounded it to the 13,700.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Before we vote, I'm just curious. The price of everything is going up. Have you noticed the price of Loretta? Have you noticed the price of this going up too?
Not that much, it's pretty much off the same as it was last year. Not seeing a big jump.
Nice. That's good. I guess paint costs haven't gone up. Everything else seems to have.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this?
Just a few questions.
Sure.
I guess one, was this budgeted?
Yes.
Okay. And then, how many bids did we
2.
get? 2. And how close was the other one?
The other one, base bid was $14,961.25. So even with a 10% contingency, this one is lower than that base bid.
Okay. And is this kind of our standard mileage we're looking to align, or each year? Or
I think we did a little bit more paving this year than normal. But it's not way out of bounds.
Okay. Would it, if we're expecting prices to rise, would it make sense to accomplish more, or is this done in conjunction with?
It's done in
Yeah, so
conjunction.
we're paying what we're mining what we've done.
I think occasionally we'll do some others if we're in an area and something needs to be done while they're here. Again, it's time to do it cheaply, but generally it's done in conjunction with the paving, except for maybe just a little bit of additional.
All right, any other discussion? All right, you ready to vote? All right, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Vicky Anderson?
Sorry.
Yes.
You no longer have to do a roll call, just for the record,
Oh, okay,
because we're in person.
all right, well, that'd be fine. We just all in favor, or what? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? No, okay, this passes. All right, the next resolution is a resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into a letter of understanding with Orange Grove Center for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024, to provide contract workers to operate the Signal Mountain Recycle Drop-Off Center for total monthly costs of $3,676, which shall not exceed $44,112 annually. You want to explain, I guess?
Sure.
Is this,
We've contracted with Orange Grove since at least 2008 for the operation of the recycle center. They provide the staffing there. Actually, in 2017, we took a look at whether we might be able to do it less expensively. Budgeted for part-time staff, and ultimately couldn't find anybody to hire. They continued through that year, and then we've continued the contract after that. You mentioned everything being more expensive. This cost of $36.76 monthly is the same cost we've been paying since 2008.
nice. All right. Any,
Do you know roughly what this comes out to an hour that they're providing?
No.
is it
I
just
think we have
an
done
hour?
that math in the past, but I don't remember.
I don't remember what it came out to.
Yeah, it's just manning the center during the hours that it's open. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what those are.
We have a great recycling center, by the way. This is a plug for it, and I hope people can use it more. And I'll just go off topic a little bit, but I was at the dump, whatever we call that, the transfer station, and I was taking some stuff over there, and some truck in front of me was unloading and throwing away a ton of cardboard boxes, big cardboard boxes, little ones, whatever. And the guy that was working there told me that it was like, you know, clogging the system a little bit, it was taking time, and he said that people think it's too much of a hassle to go to the recycling center. And I'm like, seriously? You're going to the transfer station, why can't you just drive a little further down the road and go to the recycling center? I don't know if there's a way we can tell people they're not allowed to put cardboard boxes in there, but I mean, come on, we need to start recycling this stuff if we have the facilities to do that. And it can save a lot of money for our town, not having to put this stuff into the transfer station. So is there a way we can prevent people from putting their cardboard boxes in at the dump?
I think theoretically we could, but then you'd have the expense of actually having to have someone man it and enforce it.
All right, well, I'll just make a plug. If you're out there and you're watching or watching later, you think it's a little too much of a hassle to go to the recycling center, please take 5 extra minutes and go down there, and that's where you should take your cardboard boxes. Do we have a motion on this after I'm off my soapbox?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
All right, cool. Any more discussion of this?
I'd like to take a minute to, I don't have a question, but I would like to, just talk about what a great organization the Orange Grove Center is and how much community service they do all over the area. And it, makes me really proud of our town that we contract with them and support them as kind of a symbiotic relationship in my thought. So I'm really proud of our town, and I'm also proud of Orange Grove itself and the great work they do.
All right, thank you, that's nice.
I will have to admit that back in 2017, it was with some consternation that we even looked at doing something differently, but we felt an obligation to look at the fiscal side of it, and we did that. But ultimately, I'm glad that the relationship continued.
Yeah. I believe Gary McCullough is the president of Orange Grove, he's a resident of Signal Mountain. All right, well, let's have I guess we could do a vote here. Does anybody, all in favor?
One other question.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any mechanism in the contract where they can increase the price?
I think it's, there's a cancellation provision with 30 days notice, but,
That's it.
Is this the entirety of, this is a letter of understanding, this isn't
Yeah.
the entirety of the contract, is it?
that's it. It is very straightforward.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
We said it all, like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought you'd saved us the 100 pages.
All right, well, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No. All right, this passes as well. Now on to the ordinances. We have second reading of 2 ordinances. The first is an ordinance amending section 18-107 of the Town Code to establish fees for special services performed by the Town of Signal Mountain Water Utility. This is the second reading of this ordinance. Do we have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, second, all right. So if there's no questions, you guys ready for a vote? All right, is anybody all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No? All right, this passes. The next is an ordinance to establish an updated occupational safety and health program plan, devise rules and regulations, and to provide for a safety director and the implementation of such program plan. I know we went through this pretty thoroughly before. You guys talked about it at the last meeting. Does anybody have any further questions about it? All right, we have a motion.
Motion to approve.
All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Vicky, you have to actually speak for the record.
Oh, yes, aye.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody opposed? No? All right. The ordinance passes on second reading. A couple things for us to discuss, a few things, I should say. The administrative hearing officer is up for discussion because we have 2 council members absent, and I think it's best for us not to vote on that, but I would like to discuss something. Our ordinance allows us to contract with the state of Tennessee administrative law judges on a temporary basis, to have hearings and, you know, use them on a case-by-case basis. And while we don't have an administrative law judge, I think it'd be a good idea for us to look into using them until we can actually appoint someone and have our own administrative law judge to hear matters. So I didn't bring the whole ordinance with me, just part of it doesn't have that part on it, but I think the town manager has I'm not sure if you have to be asked by the town council to do that, or if you can just contract or contact them about doing that.
I can certainly contact them and get the information.
Okay. Do you guys have any objection to doing that? We made, if it requires a motion for approval to have you do that, we can do it at the next meeting, but I don't think it does. And it's only a temporary thing. I don't know, I think it'd be better to have Dan and Susanna here when we vote on the 2 applicants that we have. Have you guys had a chance to call or talk to either of those guys?
Yes. I have not.
Okay, I've talked to them. They're both, you know, sound very qualified. I'm sure, I don't know if you have an opinion one way or the other, but we can talk about that further at our next meeting. One other thing I was going to bring up, when I was, you know, preparing to talk to them, I noticed, and Boyd and I talked about this a little bit, but I noticed that our education requirements for administrative hearing officer requires them to have 6 hours in addition to other continuing education requirements required for their professional license. And as a lawyer, you have to have 15 hours of CLE every year, and so the way it reads, at least, that would require a lawyer to do 6 more hours and have 21 total hours, which seems like, you know, a little unfair. I'm sure the lawyers want to bill their 6 hours rather than spend it in a class, another class. So I don't know if we can change that or if we need to change that, but and I think the Bar Association is fine with you rolling those MTAS training hours into your 15 total hours, so we should be okay with that as well. But that would require an amendment to our ordinance. So I propose that we amend the ordinance to change that line to, you know, reflect that you don't have to have it in addition to your regular professional hours.
I like that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Are there any, that's not a state requirement to have the extra
I'm not
6?
sure. I didn't have a chance to look at it today. Most of the ordinance, I think, is derived from state statute, but we'll just have to check and see if that's.
Yeah, I don't know if we can change it if it's part of the state statute. I would think we could, but anyway, I mean, it wasn't enforced really when I was the hearing officer, but I think it would be better not to have it in there just in case. So maybe we look at if Harry could look at the state statute and just make sure it's not going to be a problem to change that, and then if it's okay, we can get that on the agenda for the next meeting. Change that?
I will,
Okay. All right. Do y'all have any other, you know, quick discussion of the administrative hearing officer? All right. The Recreation Board ordinance revision.
Thing
Yeah.
before we move on from that, just, I guess the position is not open at this point, is that correct? Or as far as accepting new applications?
No, that is, we put it back up, opened it back up till last Thursday.
Okay.
And did not receive any additional applications.
And are we all fine? I'm fine with that, but.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Okay. The Recreation Board ordinance revision, I know we've been waiting on this, and if you want to talk about it.
I do have an update, not much. There's some further work needed on my part. So I discussed with MCAS, they had some pretty interesting insights on it. And there's some models and some other municipalities that will be interesting to potentially use. You know, we are a little bit unique. We tend to, I suppose, have a lot of boards for a city our size. Probably unique in the fact that we split out parks and recreation boards separate, a bunch of other things when we look at these. But there's been some interesting examples of some places that use kind of some of the things that we're thinking about. Their recreation board working with sort of a private fundraising organization that helps fund renovations of fields, renovations of city assets that everybody's using and enjoying, that I think maybe we can utilize those models. When I did a poll of a lot of the recreation organizations, it was not what I thought, I guess. The 501c3 requirement won't really work very well. There's a couple that don't have that. I won't call anybody out on it. It was surprising to me. But that is what it is, and I don't want to force those leagues to do things that they're not comfortable with or can't afford. So that's not a good kind of entry requirement to the board. So I'm reevaluating it. I'll come back with another solution. Is the short answer.
Who knew this would be that complicated?
Yeah.
Turning into a project. Well, appreciate your time on it, and hopefully we'll have something to talk about more at our next meeting, or maybe the one after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that, Vicki?
I do not.
Okay. Now we are at another update to the email and website. I know we had an update last meeting, so was there something we were going to follow up on? I mean, I'm glad to follow up, keep that moving.
Sure. No, the main thing I wanted to read the other night, you had, or some of you all had requested that maybe someone come in to be able to answer specific questions, more technical questions, and I said I would try to locate someone more qualified than myself to answer those questions, and I believe that I may have that person. But I wanted to talk to you all before I brought them to you all, because I think this person is okay regardless. They don't have to have our business, but they would like to retain the ability to bid on either side of this project, email or website. They're sort of a subject matter expert on both sides and have the ability to do both. But I didn't know, I wanted to make sure it was okay with you all to bring this person to you if they then may end up being the one ultimately, or one of the ones bidding on a project, depending on how we move forward with this. So I do think he would be a wealth of information. He is more versed on the Microsoft side of email. I did have a good conversation, myself, and I think we talked about this in the last meeting, Charlie, I know you weren't here, Mayor, excuse me. We had a good conversation with some IT professionals with City of Chattanooga who had made the switch to Gmail, and so I just recently, actually late Friday afternoon, received a wealth of information through email from that gentleman, and just honestly haven't had a chance to get through all that before this meeting. Not with enough to tell you any more than that, but wanted to get your thoughts on bringing that person in to answer any specific questions, should you all have those, and or we can just continue to work with him sort of behind the scenes. So
I have one question, and I don't know who would answer it, but if he does come and share, and then we select his company or his services, would there be a capacity of the other folks we do not select to come back and say that it was a biased selection and make it hard on the town, or would that be a legal issue?
I suspect, I don't know the answer to that question, but I suspect if somebody was given the opportunity to come and answer questions, and then they were the successful bidder, that the other bidders would feel like they were handicapped.
I would anticipate that. we're gonna have a few vendors that are interested in the project, that all of them could come talk to us. I guess this is somebody giving us some basic information.
Ahead
But
of
then if we had, you know, three firms interested in doing the work, they could all come and give us a presentation, and we can then choose. And everybody will have had an opportunity at that point to make their presentation. I think that would achieve fairness for the.
And we could certainly write the bid in, I mean, I don't want to use the term vague, but in general terms enough to where it won't give any one person an advantage over another. I don't know that would be enough to overcome any hurdles, but yeah, and I think what you're saying is absolutely would work as far as making sure we give opportunity for question and answer to anyone who's interested in the work. So
That, I guess, best done in a pre-bid meeting, or?
That's a good question.
I guess
How
that
does
could be
that
done
work?
during the selection process.
Yeah, I think that would
After the
come
bids
post,
come in.
post-bid, but pre-selection, that you evaluate the bids from a cost perspective, and then you allow them the opportunity to do a presentation. Everything that's in the bid packet is locked in, and they can't change that. But they could show us what their product is.
All right.
I have a couple of IT buddies who work with email specifically, and I don't know if that would be something I could reach out to them, and that would maybe make it a little easier that they could, and who I'm thinking of knows a lot about Gmail and Microsoft.
Okay.
But I don't know if y'all would be interested in that or just moving forward with his guy, but either way, I'm happy to reach out now. If y'all think we need it, I don't know, we may not need it.
And that's completely up to you, if you're more comfortable that way. I certainly don't want to do anything that would, again, this gentleman told me he has a 9-to-5 job. This would be something, you know, this wouldn't be his day job, but he did want to retain that ability. So if this in any way puts him in jeopardy of not being able to unbiasedly do that, then, or if you all would feel comfortable.
I guess the question is, from your standpoint, Sam, and from ours, are we comfortable that we'll have any specifics, we'll understand any specifics that we need to know to put into a proper bid without having, because I think about Councilman Langer's pretty knowledgeable about this stuff, and having some kind of interaction with somebody so we can say, hey, we do want to specify that we need, and I don't know what it is, you know, like, the doohickey.
I completely understand.
If we have, I think it's a good term, subject matter expert, who's not looking for business, that puts us in a lot better scenario. I don't think this necessarily is an issue, but if we have someone that can provide that informational service without looking for the business that comes along behind it, that might be a better scenario. And then this gentleman is absolutely free and clear to move forward on the same playing field that everybody else is.
I'll reach out to my friend and see what he,
That'd be
so
great.
as long as is that good for you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you just
And
want
then I'll throw you an email,
Okay.
and if he's interested and willing, I'll connect the two of you.
that would be great.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. We are moving along. We're down to the manager's report. So,
I am really trying to get budget wrapped up. Be meeting tomorrow actually with SMEPF to look at their proposal for the MAC budget. Been doing research on the recovery and assistance funds, both state and federal. Ultimately, the state funds were cut in half. They have a little broader use allowances, but still will be beneficial. The federal funds are gonna be much more difficult to try to spread throughout our list of needs. I think they're ultimately gonna mostly fall to the water system. But there are plenty of needs there. So hopefully this, in just the next couple days or so, get some final touches on the budget. I will say it is very tight. We have seen the dwindling of the last dregs of the haul tax are now gone, and the last of the safer grant that paid for some of the firefighters for the new station is now gone as well. So it's a very tight year. Doing our best to see what we can do within confines of our revenue streams. Got an update on Old Town Sidewalk. Plans, as I understand, are completed, and we're ready to meeting with the engineers Thursday to go over those and to look at the options for reducing the scope of the project to better align it with the grant budget. And then thereafter will be submitted to TDOT. Since our last meeting, we've had quite a few meetings to attend. We did have a personnel committee meeting. We're working our way through the personnel manual. It's going very well. Had a WWTA committee and board meeting, 911 committee meeting, and attended the TPO executive board meeting as well. This Thursday, we'll have the loss control specialist with Public Entity Partners, who's our insurer, will be coming to go around to various departments and basically do a risk survey or assessment and see if we have any issues we need to address there. In general terms, I wanted to let you know that our discussions relative to the tank contracts with Suez have taken I'll say, unfortunate turn. It really appears that they were willing to talk and discuss options until they figured out that we weren't going to change our mind about those contracts not being a good idea, and we got past the contract deadline, and then they sent a letter saying that they were going to cancel the contracts after this current year. We still have some matters to discuss on that. Talked to Harry quite a bit along the way, but you know, basically that is where we figured we might end up anyway because of the way the contracts are written. But we put a considerable amount of effort into optimizing our position and making it work better. But they became quite difficult. I will say
they are one of the only ones that does. They would be a bidder on a painting project, correct?
They could be, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in general terms, we have requested information and been very upfront about what we wanted to do in terms of how to reasonably sever this relationship and move into a different way of doing business, which we certainly invited their participation in. But we've asked for information and waited for weeks and months and followed up and had very difficult time getting the information. And even as that deadline approached, Adam specifically called that out. Said, look, this is what we were trying to avoid. And yet here we are. And then ultimately here we are. And then after all of that, the week when I had COVID and I was out for a week and a half, we had to cancel a meeting. To my knowledge, we had one email after that wanting to schedule for like the next day or two. And obviously I was out, I did not answer that email. My first day back in the office was the 18th, first full day. And that's the day they sent the cancellation letter, because we were unresponsive after what we had been through with them. So they literally seemed to take the first opportunity to shift gears. So that's where we are. Again, it's where we figured we would probably end up because of the nature of the contracts, but I think we did business properly and put a lot of effort into optimizing our position and how things turned out, and they ultimately weren't cooperative in that effort.
So the contracts are canceled?
As of this coming February. And we have some.
Are there existing jobs that would have been on the schedule that they need to complete?
Yes, some.
Have they agreed to complete those?
And I don't want to get into
Okay.
detail on some of the things, but we have a couple of the tanks we have some further disagreement on.
Okay.
Trying to work through. But theoretically, any of the work that is scheduled for the remaining tanks, at least, for this year, will be done, should be done.
And I assume there's money in these that we're not getting the services for. Money we paid that we're probably not gonna get services for, according to them, unless there's litigation.
I'll defer to Mr. Cash on that, but the way the contracts, and that's what we were trying to work through. And initially they seemed open to is looking at when each of those tanks should roll off so that they have been paid for their services. We have received the services that we expected, and the tanks had been recently had an interior and exterior renovation. So that was the best timing for both parties, and that's what we were trying to work towards. And ultimately that was unsuccessful.
Okay. It's a delicate discussion to have, so we can preserve attorney-client confidentiality, but
Well, I did pose that question. At present, there is not current or threatened litigation.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to stretch that. It just doesn't exist at this point. It may, but before reaching that point, I wanted to make sure you guys knew that where we were.
okay.
And there are positions we may need to take, but we should discuss it.
Right. All right.
And just to, is my understanding correct on the contracts? They're more of, I mean, they may have been sold as an insurance policy, but they're not insurance. They're a service contract. Obviously, they can cancel just like we can. And there's no obligation after that cancellation end date for them to perform any.
I think that's correct.
Okay. Anything else? All right, other business, communications and reports from the mayor and council. I'll start with you guys here. Do you guys have anything to report?
I do. I just would like to share that Thursday we had a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the library, and it was a beautiful outdoor ceremony, and everyone really enjoyed it. So we are moving forward on that, and it's a very exciting time at the library.
Along those lines, I get asked a lot, you guys probably do too, and I meant to ask you to check into this, so sorry to put you on the spot, but I get asked a lot when the library is going to open, and I asked Britt Reynolds that question, and he said that the library is following American Library Association guidelines. Everybody's supposed to be vaccinated by the end of the month, and y'all are continuing to talk about it.
Correct.
I don't know if things have
ongoing.
changed since I talked to Britt, that's been a couple of weeks, but.
It's an ongoing conversation, and I know that, everyone's, eager to open up as soon as they can safely do so.
When you can update us
I will.
on that, that would be great, because people I think, moms and dads, I guess, with kids are worried that they're not gonna have anything to do with their kids this summer, and they want them to go to the library. So, yes, hey,
We're gonna have a meeting next Monday night, a week from tonight is our board meeting, and we have several things that we're gonna discuss about how we're gonna reopen.
okay,
We're hoping to be able to do it soon, but we have to meet these other guidelines, and we have to do these things so that we can be safe.
right, okay,
And I don't think that we will start out being wide open, we'll start out with smaller, kind of like other libraries do.
okay. I appreciate that, and I know that, the town will appreciate your efforts. Thank you, Karen and Vicki, for that. Andrew, do you have anything?
I had just a few other things that I guess I've heard from citizens, and
Not overwhelming on any of these, so just curious everybody's thoughts. One was the recycling center. I am not an expert on the literature regarding COVID. I guess what I have been sent is if it's outdoor, I guess because the risk is a lot less, and people are asking about wearing masks at the recycling center, whether that's necessary. And then a separate question, have a lot of questions for, are we opening the pool on time? I know these are more like staffing issues and opening the gym.
Well, staffing and the rehab project for the pool deck, they're working on that. They need a stretch of good curing weather for that to finish up. So with the weather the way it's been, with the rain off and on, that's been an issue. But we do have lifeguard applications in. Maybe not all we need, but I think we'll be okay there. And if they can get that project wrapped up, our goal is to be open Memorial Day weekend. If we're not, I think it will be shortly thereafter, and it will be because of some delay like that.
Okay. And the gym?
We do now have a couple applications for a gym attendant, so I think that'll be fairly quickly.
Okay.
The mask thing at the recycling center, I think is interesting because, I've seen people with masks on, some without. I know there's a sign saying wear a mask, but, you know, people just kind of do what they're gonna do. I don't know if the town is really taking a position on that. There's nobody there really to enforce it.
I think the mask mandate was still in place when we opened back up. And those signs may frankly just be remnant of that. I mean, out here, we've changed the sign to say masks are requested.
Yeah.
But
So is it safe to say that masks are optional at the recycling center at this point?
I think so. I don't have any issue. I think that's probably just one of those, we didn't think to change those signs out, take them down.
Okay. Maybe that'll encourage more people to go.
Yes.
Get everybody going to the recycling center, but not like all at once.
Can we require them at the
Yeah, there you go. We can require masks at the transfer station, then everybody will stay away and go to the recycling center instead. Yeah, I mean, it would be great to not have anything in your garbage can and take everything to recycling someday. So hopefully we can get to that point in this town. All right. Anything else, Andrew or Vicki? I had the same questions about the pool too, so I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people want to go to the pool. I also was wondering, you know, those kids, Olivia and Adrian, I was so proud of them. I watched their presentation, and I want us to keep following up on the crosswalk. So I don't know what next steps would be to follow up on that. If, you know, we can keep this ball rolling about putting something in, or, you know, can considering whether we should put something in. What do you think, next steps would be?
I think if Loretta can talk to folks at the state and see what the request process is, I think ultimately we may not know, but we know they'll probably tell us that we're welcome to do that if we want to do it ourselves. But I think we do have to get approval for it and all that, so we could nail all that down and then see where we are from there.
Okay.
Is there potentially a process by which we could petition enough or something to get state funding for that?
I think it would certainly fall into it never hurts to ask, but I don't know how likely that would be.
Especially with the impassioned plea from high school students?
Yeah.
We could,
Well, they only open up the grants at certain times of year. And
Okay.
so there's no grants to apply for at the moment. But I could always look to see if there's some money somewhere.
and I know as far as the state actually coming up and installing it and doing it, I don't know if they've ever done a project like that. I mean, even
I could ask.
the traffic light upgrade was on us. But again, we can ask, we can
Okay.
see what we might be able to.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We could forward that presentation to everybody we know at TDOT.
And also, and I think this is something for us to keep in mind, to really think about. At one point, I know that the town council was planning on doing a bike ped path from this area down to Pruitt's. And people want that. And I was driving down Mountain Creek Road the other day, and it's a busy road, not as busy as Taft Highway, but there's a sidewalk there, and you see all kinds of people out walking and running on that sidewalk. And I think if we put a bike ped path from here down to Pruitt, it would get so much use. So I know that's, a lot of money, but I'm wondering if the community could do something, when like Coolidge Park, they sold bricks, could the community do something to try to raise money to put in some sort of bike ped path along that road? Because I think, and in fact, I talked to a soccer mom the other day, and she was, asking she may have contacted you, Boyd. She was asking, who can I call? She knows, some state senator, and she was going to call that person, and, so people want this. Is there, some mechanism we can go by to try to get that back on the agenda to talk about it?
I think there are fundraising opportunities for just about any key project. It's having an organized group that's willing to put the muscle into it. It's not off the radar. The path through here and the bike ped path were projects that came out of a working group, and we did obtain funding for, and then ultimately that funding had to be pushed to Old Town. But that's not the end of those projects. We're looking to
Do we know
breathe life into those as quickly as we can.
ballpark? I know that there'd be more investigation, especially if cost changes, but do we know ballpark what you'd be looking to fundraise if you were doing it privately?
All we could
A lot.
It seemed like when that project came back from the state, it went way over $1 million. And we were not able to provide.
1.2 is something in my head from prior discussions, but that could.
Well, that's the Old
That's
Town
Old
project.
Town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the thing, the Old Town sidewalk budget was like 1.2, and what the state said we had to do out here, just from here to Pruitt's, was in that ballpark. I mean, it was, I don't remember the details, but we were flabbergasted.
There's a lot of easements and stuff.
So,
Well, I want to keep talking about it because I know people are very interested in that. I mean, if my kids are driving now, but if they were, walking and using this pool and want to go down and get something to eat at Pruitt's or the convenience store. I would be a little worried about them constantly walking back and forth, so, I know people are worried about their kids, so I want to keep talking about that, keep it on the radar.
I think that's a great idea. Maybe somebody's watching tonight that would be willing to chair a fundraising committee like sidewalks for signal. That kind of thing.
Yeah, or if somebody knows Mark Cuban, you can just ask him to fund the whole thing. Anybody? Maybe one day. All right, so, any reports from committees or boards? All right, well, that's other business. All right. Our next meeting will be May 21st.
That is one thing we needed to try to nail down. In the last meeting, again, we had 3 folks, but different ones. It was suggested that we might move that to the 19th. I think I sent you an email on that, see if, that's generally would be our all-day budget work session.
No, we were gonna move it, it was originally scheduled for the 24th, which was
Okay, I'm
Monday,
sorry.
and they asked to reschedule
The
it to
19th is
Friday.
when we would need to get the budget to.
You're giving me a heart attack.
And I'm good with either date. I thought that the 21st was better, but now it's either way. So I'm happy to go either direction, either way.
I could do the 21st also, or I guess I could do the 19th too, so.
So it's either 19th or the 24th. I'm sorry.
21st or the 24th, yeah,
What did I just say?
the 19th of
Okay, why don't I just sit here and let Carol have it?
Friday the 21st.
Yeah.
Friday the 21st or the 24th.
And I cannot do the 24th. I can't do all day.
Was everybody available for the 21st? If so,
As far as we know, but Dan.
Dan said he could.
okay. All right, well, let's do the 21st then. That's fine with me. It seems to be fine with everybody else.
You're gonna meet at 9 on the 21st?
9 a.m.
I think it's an all-day.
It's the day.
It's a day meeting, all day meeting.
And are we going to still have the council meeting the following one?
No.
That wasn't generally isn't the case when we do it this way. Unless there's something really pressing from the.
Okay.
Mayor Foss and I will be coming in glowing because we both have
That's right.
children that will be graduating from high school the night before. Or with tissues.
Yeah, I think it's more likely with
More like
tissues.
tissues.
Yes, so, the 21st works. In that regard, let's say congratulations to all the high school graduates from the class of 2021 at Signal Mountain High School.
It's a remarkable group of students. I know that I was at a band concert on Tuesday night, and just the students in the band have over $750,000 worth of scholarships that they got. So well done to the Signal Mountain Marching Band students.
Yes, all right. Well, on that note, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.